Hi there, welcome. My name's Jason, and today I'm here to share a plant with you called Monstera deliciosa. This is often referred to as the Splitleaf Philodendron, also referred to as the Swiss cheese plant because of the look of the leaves. This plant originates from the tropical jungles of Mexico and Panama and makes an awesome, vigorous houseplant to any home or office space. So as far as the care, we'll get to that right now. You're going to want to select a robust plant. That shouldn't be very hard because it's a very robust plant in general. As far as selecting a spot for it, you want bright and direct light, but you really do want medium to bright light when it comes to that. So no direct sunlight, but you want it in close proximity to a window, hopefully a very large window, a place where it gets a lot of light, because you want it to grow in a nice form and you want the leaf to split like this, and you need good lighting for that. So choose a place with bright light, just indirect because you don't want direct sunlight. This plant is beautiful. It's a great focal point. It's adorned in these heart-shaped leaves that eventually split, and just a couple leaves like this in a vase of water add an instant accent to any table. So keep that in mind as a nice little handy thing you can do with the leaves. Know that when it comes to watering, you want to allow the topsoil to dry out about 30% in between waterings. You don't have to get it perfect, that's just your aim. Like I've said in some of my other videos, just do the lift test or the tip test. So when you water it, give your pot a lift or tip it if the pot is very large. Just make sure if you are tipping it to lift and support the ceramic pot or plastic pot, whatever pot you have it in, so that you're not compromising the integrity of the vase or pot that it's in. So, just get an idea of what the soil feels like when it's saturated, so that when you come back, you'll know the difference. As far as fertilizing, you want to fertilize this plant spring through summer with an all-purpose indoor plant fertilizer. You want to do that twice a month. I like to use this one. This is organic indoor houseplant fertilizer made by Espoma, and I like this because of the combination of beneficial bacteria for houseplants that this plant fertilizer is formulated with. So there are a lot of different ones you can choose out there. This plant's not too picky. That's just one that I like to use. As far as choosing a pot size, this one it's in a 6-inch pot right now. I like to keep them potted into the plastic pot that they came in, or I like to pot it into a plastic pot so that I can combine it with a plastic saucer and then use my decorative pot of choice, also referred to by me as a glorified saucer, which is pretty cool. That way, you have flexibility to change the pot up, and you have your saucer. So the drainage goes in here from when you water the plant, and boom, you have like a beautiful plant. And also, what's nice about that too is some ceramic, if it's very porous, the soil can leach calcium and minerals into your terracotta pot or ceramic pot. This way nothing leaches into your pot, it's all trapped in that plastic. It also helps the plant maintain a level of humidity around the roots that it wants. You just don't want to overwater this plant. So remember, allow the top 30% of the soil to dry out in between waterings. That might be once a week, depending on where you place it. Just make sure to keep it out of the direct path of heating and air conditioning, because that will dry it out. It will take away from the humidity that you would get in this plant otherwise. If you are overwatering the plant on a regular basis, you may notice little water droplets underneath the leaves. That is an indicator that you're overwatering it. If the leaves are starting to dry out and brown up, that could be an indication that you're underwatering it. Just make sure to give it the lift test to figure out which one may be the case. But otherwise, this is a very forgiving plant. It's not too demanding. It just really does want that light, and it will, in a relatively short period of time, want a larger pot. I would recommend anywhere from a 2 to 5 to 10 gallon pot for this plant. You can even go 15 gallon. This plant gets big. So the bigger pot, the bigger leaves, the bigger plant. You'll see aerial roots that shoot out. If they get unsightly, or if you're not a fan of them, you can always prune them off. It's not a big deal, just compost them. We went over fertilizing. In the winter, don't fertilize this plant. You don't need to fertilize it because that's the non-growth season. It doesn't need to be fertilized in the winter. When you do decide to pot it up, I'd recommend doing that once a year to once every 2 years. You may reach a point at which your plant plateaus and it's in a big giant pot. You won't have to pot it up as often. Just make sure that the plant maintains a vibrant appearance. You can stagger the repots out even further if you do have this in like a 10-gallon pot. You don't need to repot it every single year. Just keep an eye on the plant. If it starts to show signs of, underwatering, overwatering, it may be too root bound. You might need to, to break it up and repot it. But yeah, as far as pests, if you notice any pest attacking your plant, like mealybugs or spider mites, feel free just to use an insecticidal soap that's made for indoor plants, and that should really help with that. If you do end up in a situation where you have mealybugs, something that also helps is if you have like an insecticidal soap that has a little bit of spinosad in it, you can spray it on the soil so that when you water it, it waters it into the soil. So if there's any mealybugs hiding in the soil, you can get them that way. But otherwise, it's a very hardy plant. You shouldn't experience too many problems with pests. As far as toxicity goes, this plant is rated medium in toxicity. I do have a friend that unfortunately ended up biting into one of these one time. It's a funny story. But apparently they're really spicy and hot, and they are not in a good way. Sour, spicy, like intense, maybe a little bitter. So do keep that in mind. It's not tasty. So if you do have a pet that likes to munch on your plants, just know that this is medium toxicity. It has a toxic level to it. Your plant should not be your pet should not be eating this plant. Nobody should really. It's just an ornamental plant, so it's not for eating. But it's kind of nice to know that it has an unpleasant flavor. If you did, or your animal did bite into it, maybe that would be discouraging. So that's also something to keep in mind. But that's all up to you. It is a plant, so it creates oxygen. It adds a life energy to your bedroom or office or kitchen or living room or wherever you like to place this plant. If there's any questions that you might have about this plant that I haven't answered in this video, please feel free to leave your questions in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out, and this is Monstera deliciosa. I'm Jason. Thanks again.